This is a quick guide for the brand new Mythic Cathedral of Eternal Night dungeon in World of Warcraft. This is an interesting introduction to the Tomb of Sargeras and has been added this week in patch 7.2. Please note that all points in this guide are from a ranged DPS perspective. The first boss in the cathedral is Agrinox, who bears a striking resemblance to Oakheart from Darkheart Thicket. This is a nice easy fight, especially coming off the back of the last dungeon release, Return to Karazhan. The only real point of note for DPS in this fight is the spawning of the fulminating lashes. They'll appear at the back of the room and will fixate random players. Should they reach their targets, the lashes will deal around 1.2 million damage to everyone within 5 yards, so make sure you zerg them down nice and quick. Succulent Lasher is the other thing to pay attention to, as they'll place patches of succulent secretion on the ground. These deal around 80,000 damage to all players within 8 yards, and will spawn further pools. Apart from that, just burn the boss down to claim your loot. On Mythic, Agrinox will periodically siphon health from any flowers still alive, so ad management is rather important here. Boss number 2 is Thrashbite the Scornful, who fights you in a Karazhan meets Suramar library style room. The first move to pay attention to is Pulverizing Cudgel. This is easily spottable as a large brown swirl under the boss. The further away you are from Thrashbite, the less damage you'll take, so make sure you move back before the cast goes off. Heave Cudgel is the next big move, and Thrashbite will toss his weapon, causing a tornado to form. Make sure you're standing on the inside of the shelves, in front of a shelf, as the twister will head between two of them and move around the outside. It's important to avoid this at all costs, as it's a one-shot move. Finally, Thrashbite will focus on a random player and cast Scornful Gaze. When this happens, get behind a bookcase before the cast finishes and he'll charge you. Once the boss breaks the bookcase, 2 animated books will spawn. You want to get these down as quickly as possible, especially the biographical book, as this will mind control one of your team. Continue on with the mechanics and you'll get your kill. The third boss of the cathedral is Domitrax. You notice here that the Aegis of Agrimar is also sitting in the middle of the room, and this will help mitigate damage with particular mechanics later in the fight. Domitrax's first move to note is ripping open additional Fel portals, one on either side of the room. You want to get the Fel portal guardians down as quickly as possible to avoid too many imps, and later on in the fight, Fel guards spawning in the room. Killing them quickly will also stop their approaching doom casts going off, which summons a Searing Overfiend ad. These are particularly dangerous as they deal around 300,000 ticking damage every 3 seconds. Every now and then, Domitrax will cast Fel Soul Cleave towards the tank. As long as you're behind the boss, you won't be hit by this conal AoE. Periodically throughout the fight, the boss will cast Chaotic Energy. If you're using an up-to-date version of DBM, you'll get an alert to move to the Aegis of Agrimar. Should you be standing out, you'll take around 3 million damage, which is likely fatal to a lot of players. Once the cast has gone off, move out of the Aegis barrier as soon as you can, as standing in it reduces its energy, lessening the amount of times you can use it throughout the fight. Continue on with the mechanics, switching to ads and moving when you need to, and you'll get the boss down fairly easily. The final boss of the Cathedral of Eternal Night is Mayfest Ross, an impressive looking dreadlord. I noticed a number of people complaining about how he was bugged last night in the instance as well as in trade, however we managed to get him down after a couple of attempts. Demonic Upheaval is the first move to pay attention to, which will be cast on 2 random players and will spawn large green circles on the ground upon expiration. Move out of these as soon as possible, as large Fel pillars will erupt in the centre of each. These will deal damage to the entire group, as well as direct damage to any players still in the circles. Carrion Swarm is the next move to watch out for, and has a conal AoE which reduces healing received by 75%. Simply stand away from Mayfest Ross' front, and you'll be fine. The third regular move he'll cast is Dark Solitude, which splashes damage on random players in the group, and leaves a debuff which will deal further ticking damage. You want to make sure you're not too grouped up, as this damage can spread to nearby players. Once the boss reaches 100% energy, at just about 50% health for us, he'll cast Shadow Fade and disappear. Illidan will pop down to drop the Aegis of Agrimar to use again, but differently this time. Shadows of Mayfest Ross will spawn around the outside of the room, and will shoot out Shadow Blast orbs towards Illidan. Your tank will need to commandeer the Aegis, and move around to deflect the orbs away from the Demon Hunter. DPS will also need to kill these ads down to reduce the amount of orbs being flung at Illidan and speed up the return of the previous phase. You'll also notice Dreadwings flying around in this phase, dropping green puddles on the ground. There's no point focusing on these ads, but make sure you're avoiding as much AoE damage as possible. Once Illidan has reached enough energy, he'll cast Expel Shadows and return you to the previous phase. Simply rinse repeat the earlier points and you'll get the boss down. Congratulations on completing the newest dungeon in the game so quickly. I've also uploaded an uncut and unedited video of this dungeon run, which does feature a good few wipes of us trying to suss out boss fights, but should be good for anyone not yet able to run this themselves or are trying to find their way through the large citadel. If you found this video helpful, feel free to hit the like button or subscribe to keep up with loads more achievement guides coming soon. Thanks for watching.